You know the taste. Caramel, malty, creamy, not quite like any other chocolate you've ever had. Cadbury Dairy Milk sells over 500 million bars every year. That purple wrapper has looked the same for more than 100 years. Most people assume the flavor comes from the cocoa, or from how the chocolate is tempered, or from the recipe itself. It doesn't. Cadbury's flavor is created before the mixture ever becomes chocolate. It's cooked into existence in a step no other major chocolate maker in the world uses. And the person who invented it wasn't a chocolatier. He was a Quaker who wanted people to stop drinking alcohol. In the 1820s, English chocolate was a fraud. Makers bulked out their cocoa with animal fat, red lead, and brick dust. The powder people stirred into their morning cups was closer to plaster than food. John Cadbury was a Quaker in Birmingham who believed alcohol was destroying working-class families. Cocoa could replace gin. In 1824, he opened a shop selling cocoa, tea, and coffee, installed a plate glass window nobody in the neighborhood had seen before, and hired a Chinese man in traditional costume to work the counter. His sons took over in 1861. George discovered the Van Houten press, and in 1866 launched Cadbury Cocoa Essence. Absolutely pure, therefore best. First pure cocoa sold in a market built on adulteration. Then the Swiss solved a problem Cadbury hadn't even attempted. In 1875, Daniel Peter combined chocolate with Henri Nestlé's condensed milk. Milk chocolate existed, and Switzerland owned it. Cadbury tried to compete in 1897. Failed. Tried again. Failed again. In 1904, George's son got one assignment: make a milk chocolate bar with more milk than anything else on the market. By 1905, he had it. A customer's daughter named it. Highland Milk, Jersey, Dairy Maid were all rejected. She said dairy milk. But what separated this bar wasn't how much milk went in. It was what happened to the milk before it ever touched chocolate. Cocoa beans from Ghana. Roasted, cracked, and pressed into cocoa mass and cocoa butter at a factory in Chirk, North Wales. So far, every chocolate maker in the world does the same thing. What happens next is where Cadbury splits from all of them. At Marlbrook in Herefordshire, cocoa mass, sugar, and fresh liquid milk are cooked together. Not blended, not mixed at room temperature, cooked. This is the step no other major chocolate maker uses. The mixture goes into vacuum ovens running at 5 to 20 millimeters of mercury and 80 to 95 degrees Celsius. The vacuum matters. At normal atmospheric pressure, the milk would scorch. Under vacuum, moisture boils off at lower temperatures, and the Maillard reaction runs slow. Milk proteins and sugars react under heat, generating hundreds of new flavor compounds instead of burning into bitterness. Lactose, the reducing sugar in milk, caramelizes. That's the distinctive malty caramel taste. It's the same reaction that browns a steak and toasts bread, except here it happens inside chocolate, before the mixture ever becomes chocolate. The result is chocolate crumb. Dry, crumbly, pale brown. It already smells like Cadbury before a single gram of extra cocoa butter goes in. George Cadbury Jr. developed and patented this process in 1905. 27,000 tons of crumb per year. It's the base of every Cadbury product. At Bourneville in Birmingham, tanker trucks deliver over 250 tons of crumb per day, along with 50 tons of cocoa butter from Chirk. Refining mills crush the mixture between enormous rollers until particles shrink to 20 to 40 microns. Your tongue can't detect grittiness at that size. Then conching, hours of continuous mixing in steel vessels, distributing cocoa butter evenly and evaporating bitter acids. Rodolphe Lindt invented conching in 1879. Tempering is the final chemistry. Cocoa butter can crystallize in 6 forms, but only type 5 produces the glossy shine and clean snap. Heat to 45 degrees to melt all crystals. Cool to 27 to form type 4 and 5. Reheat to 34 to keep only 5. Get it wrong, start over. Molds fill, vibration. Tables shake out air bubbles. A cooling tunnel sets the chocolate. Wrapping machines seal 400 bars per minute in Pantone 2685C purple. Pods from Ghana, processed in Wales, cooked into crumb in Hereford. assembled into chocolate in Birmingham. 4 factories, 3 countries, 1 bar. Flip over a Cadbury bar sold in London. Milk is the first ingredient. Flip over a Cadbury bar sold in New York. Sugar is first, followed by lactose, soy lecithin, and natural and artificial flavorings. In 1988, Cadbury sold the US brand rights and 2 factories to Hershey. Hershey isn't required to use the same recipe. The UK version uses fresh milk cooked into crumb. The US version uses evaporated or powdered milk. Hershey also uses butyric acid, a compound found in sour yogurt, Parmesan cheese, and vomit. To British palates, American Cadbury tastes sour. The UK bar melts on contact with your tongue. The US version is sturdier, designed to survive a Texas summer. In 2015, Hershey blocked imports of British-made Cadbury into the United States. Blind taste tests consistently show the British version wins on creaminess and texture. Cadbury survived 2 world wars and 6 monarchs. They held the royal warrant since 1854. In 2010, Kraft Foods acquired Cadbury for £11.5 billion. Kraft promised to keep the Somerdale factory open. 1 week later, they reversed it. Production moved away from Bourneville, the village George Cadbury built for his workers. A village with no pubs. In December 2024, Cadbury lost the royal warrant after 170 years. No official reason was given. Campaigners pointed to Mondelez's continued operations in Russia, where it still runs 3 factories. Ukraine designated Mondelez an international sponsor of war. A company founded to be the alternative to greed and addiction came to embody something its founders would not have recognized. Pick up a Cadbury bar. Check the weight. In June 2026, Mondelez CEO Dirk van de Putte told BBC Radio 4 that consumers don't want to pay more, so the company reduces size instead. The 200-gram sharing bar is now 180 grams. The 49-gram bar is down to 45. The size is the visible change. The invisible one is the recipe. More sugar, less milk. Suspected swaps for palm oil and emulsifiers. Cocoa prices are surging from climate and supply constraints, but retail prices won't come down even when wholesale does. Look at the wrapper. Glass and a half, Cadbury's 82-year slogan, was dropped from wrappers in 2010 under EU labeling rules. The promise is gone because the recipe can't keep it. Cadbury in 2026 isn't Cadbury in 1905. The name stays, the wrapper stays, what's inside has shifted. What made Cadbury Cadbury was never the name or the purple wrapper. It was how they handled the milk. When that step changes, everything changes. We believe brand equals product. The brand is just the wrapper. The process is the chocolate. You know the taste. Now you know where it comes from. Not the cocoa, the milk. Cooked into something new in 1905 and still cooked the same way in Hereford today. That is the process. We reveal how things actually work, one story at a time. If there is something you would like us to explore next, let us know. Until then, trust the process.